Hey everyone, so this is my review of Inhumans, Season 1, Episode 4, called Make Way for Medusa. And essentially what this episode is about is that Medusa continues on her quest to try and reunite with Black Bolt, and Black Bolt's doing the same to try and reunite with Medusa. And while that's all going on, Maximus, back on Atlantean, sort of tries to do more and more stuff to sort of cement his placement as king. And this was a very, very interesting and very entertaining episode that wasn't the greatest, because I definitely feel like they could have done everything in this episode a bit better, but it did have some very great and very highlight sort of moments in it that made it really entertaining. And with that being said, everything around with Maximus in this episode was very, very interesting to see what all his plans are and what all he was doing. And yes, this episode finally sort of did confirm possibly what they are doing with Maximus, where yes, he did turn human, and yes, that he doesn't have any powers and stuff, which is a little disappointing because I would have loved the storyline a lot better if they would have stuck with the traditional storyline of Maximus, which is, like I said in the last review, where he went through Terrigenesis and went through all this stuff, and then for some reason sort of decided to hide his inhuman abilities until he took over as king. And that would have been a really interesting storyline to see, where it would have been like all this stuff where everyone dredged him through the mud, everyone treated him terribly because he turned human and all this different stuff, and then have him be like, haha, surprise, I'm not, and do all that stuff. But yes, the storyline that it seems like they might be doing with him is also interesting, which is that he is turned human, and then he goes through Terrigenesis essentially a second time to turn him inhuman, and then through that second Terrigenesis he actually gains powers. So yes, that will be interesting depending on how they do it and how it all happens, and if it happens. But I'm not excited for it as much because it's so different from what they did before. And like I said, I would have enjoyed it so much more if he did have all these powers and stuff, but he kept it hidden. But still, I am very curious and very excited to see what they might do with him and what they might do with all that stuff and how eventually it's all going to happen. And then the moments between Black Bolt and Medusa were very interesting, especially the moments with Black Bolt, where he was very friendly to the scientist and very willing to do what the scientist asked. But he did keep reminding the scientist that at the end of the day, give me my wife, help me find my wife, help me do all this stuff. I just like that he did keep reminding the scientist, hey, help me here and I'll keep helping you. And I just really liked how all that was done. And then the moments with Medusa were weird and fun and great, with her sort of bringing the scientist along with her and sort of holding the scientist hostage, and just how they sort of made all these connections and actually somewhat have formed a friendship was interesting. But I did especially like all their moments when it did finally lead up to the sort of comment once they were finally sharing their names and stuff. And Medusa said that her name was Medusa, and the scientist laughed because Medusa is so iconic for her hair. And yes, that's true with this Medusa. So that was fun that they did finally have that joke in there with Medusa having the shaped head and her name not really matching with what's commonly known with that name. And just, I love that they did finally have that moment. And then the moments with Gorgon were very interesting, with him finally sort of traveling along with all these humans and stuff and not really wanting them to be there because he doesn't want them to get hurt, and just all that little moments and stuff that he did have with Gorgon in this episode were very, very interesting, and I kind of can't wait to see what they're going to do with him next. And then the moments with Karnak were okay, not my favorite, but it was fun with him sort of understanding Earth more and understanding people, and all this different stuff that they did do with him was okay, but I just really don't want that storyline with him. I want him to continue to find some way to sort of reunite with the rest of the royal family, but it doesn't seem like they're going to do that with him. It definitely seems like they're going to have him be like, okay, I guess I'm here now, I guess I'm going to do all this stuff, and then eventually have everyone else stumble upon him. So I'm not excited for that storyline, but it definitely seems like that's where they're going with him. And then the moments with Crystal were fun, with her doing all the stuff to sort of help her dog and sort of, again, like Karnak, sort of be introduced to what life on Earth is like. And that was a whole lot of fun to see. And then just overall, like I said, this was still a really interesting and really entertaining episode, but I definitely feel like they could have done it a bit better than what they did do, because there were so many interesting and so many great storylines that if they would have changed it here and there, it would have been way more interesting and way more entertaining. But yeah, that's my review of Inhumans, Season 1, Episode 4, called Make Way for Medusa. So yeah, bye!